Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this evening. We are talking with Bryan McDonald about sales. And so our presenter is Bryan McDonald, a partner with OnPurpose Growth, and my name's John Fisher. I'm one of over 70 mentors with our SCORE chapter, and I'm going to be the moderator for today. So this session is going to be recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel. And usually that takes a couple of days for that to happen. Please submit your questions using the Q&A function or the chat function. But the Q&A function actually works better for us, but you can make your own decisions there. So we are going to be answering questions potentially a couple of different points in the presentation, but we will definitely be answering questions at the end here. So today's webinar, again, is sponsored by North Cook and Lake Counties chapter of SCORE in association with the Lake Villa District Library and the State Bank of the Lakes here. So Bryan, you want to go on to the next slide? Yep. So SCORE is a resource partner of the United States Small Business Administration. What that says is we're not part of the Small Business Administration, but we're funded through the Small Business Administration. So we work closely with them. They have their functions. We have our functions, which are primarily, I think if you go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about those. No, this is the impact. So SCORE has a pretty good impact on the business environment here. So in our particular chapter, we have started 197 new businesses, created 866 jobs, and provided services like what we're doing this evening for 4,600 different people here. So that's a fairly decent impact for what we do, and we're an all volunteer organization. So if you go to the next one, Bryan. So we do one-on-one mentoring. It's confidential, it's free. We have mentors with experience in all sorts of different things, and they are here to help you. We also have workshops, seminars, webinars, just like what we're doing today. We have an amazing amount of tools and templates and such in our website at score.org. And so we have, again, over 70 mentors. If you want to request a mentor, just go to our website, score.org/North Chicago, and that will get you to the mentoring here. So let's go to the next slide, Bryan. So this is our disclaimer. I should make this really tiny print. And then,
yeah, right.
and then say it really fast. But basically it says, Bryan, you're on your own, buddy.
All right.
So there we go. Let's go to the next one here.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the part that you're actually interested in. And I'm going to turn, oh, the recording is already on, it looks like. So yeah. We have a poll here that we ask people. So we try to find out who is in the audience, not who personally, but what type of people are listening to our presentations here. So I'm going to launch a poll, and there's a couple of questions here. One is asking, what stage of business are you in currently? So are you thinking about it? Are you someone who's been in business for 1 to 5 years? Are you someone who has been in business for over 5 years? And then the second question here is, how many employees do you currently have? So it's just me, 2 to 10, 11 to 100, or over 100. And then the last question here is, what type of business do you have? Are you a service-based business? Are you a product-based business? And you can do multiple choices here. Are you focused on, say, technology, manufacturing, retail, distribution, or something else? So we're trying to get a good sense of how people are distributed here and what our audience is. Normally we do that by raising hands, but since we're all online these days, we'll do it like this. So let me look and see. I believe that we are close. So let's end the poll, and then this should give you the results. Perfect. Okay. Can you see that, Bryan?
Yeah. Do you see it?
No, I can't see it, but
so how about I share that really quick, just so you know. So it's about
sure.
A quarter of the people are thinking about starting a business, and then it's distributed evenly with the rest between people who have a business for 1 to 5 years or over 5 years. So it's a pretty evenly distributed mix here. And when it comes to employees, 63% it's just them, 25% it's 2 to 10, and 13% are 11 to 100. There's nobody here that has a business over 100. And then most of them are service-based, 63% service-based, product-based 38%. And then we got 1 retail and 2 distribution. So a really good mix, really good mix.
That's great. Okay, so without further ado, Bryan, why don't you take over, and we will get back. I'll come back after the presentation to answer any questions that people might have.
Perfect. Well, John, I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody's time today. I'm excited to talk to you about some perspectives and things in sales. And how we got here was something that John kind of already described. Is SCORE reaches out to entrepreneurs like myself, mentors, and people in the marketplace, and they ask us to share some wisdom on these webinars, so you all can get strategies, perspectives, tactics, answers to questions that you have, so we can help you grow your business. So if you have not accessed SCORE yet, and this is the first time you're learning about it, I highly suggest you go to your local SCORE and find out how they how they can help you. So a little bit about myself before we dive in here. As John said, I'm Bryan McDonald from OnPurpose Growth, and OnPurpose Growth is a coaching and consulting firm that serves entrepreneurs with ambitious yearly or multi-year revenue goals actually fulfill that ambition. And what they learn are rare skills and strategies in the sales department, so they can differentiate themselves from their competition and grab the slice of the market that they deserve. So I love sales and entrepreneurship, and I also sit as the board president of the Fox Valley Entrepreneurship Center. We are a 501(c) economic development nonprofit. We help businesses in the Chicagoland area, from Elgin in the north to Sugar Grove in the south. And what we do there is we help businesses that are past startup phase and want to get into acceleration mode get the resources that they need to grow, and help that they need. We do not invest in any businesses. We do not own any businesses like your stereotypical accelerator. All we do is we have businesses come pitch to us like Shark Tank style, and they and the ones we know we can help, or we think we can help, we enroll in them in our program, and then we pay for them to get consultants to help them in whatever areas that they need. So just like SCORE, our mission is to help businesses grow revenue and create jobs. So we're doing that at Fox Valley, and I love it. And at OnPurpose Growth, in the time that we've existed, about 10 years, we've helped our clients gain over $100 million in new revenue. So I love sales. I love helping other people grow their sales. And what we're going to talk about today are some very few specific sales tactics and strategies. These are things that we're using with our clients today. Recently, I helped a fractional chief operating officer who had one client when we started working together. And by the time our time was over, that client was rolling her out because they were ready for a full-time person, and she had done her job. And she reached out to me recently in the past 60 days and said that she took the work that we did together, applied it in the 90 days after that client rolled her out, and she put on $47,000 of monthly recurring revenue with the stuff we worked on. So what I'm about to share with you today works when you apply it. And these aren't, pie in the sky philosophies. These are things that business owners are applying practically to help them grow sales. So here's what we're going to cover today, and what today's intentions is. I'm going to talk about things you can apply today. I'm going to ask you to put a little work in, towards the end, and actually apply it today if you're willing. You're going to develop a way to become more relevant to your prospects and clients and see the world from their perspective, which is most important. And learn how to communicate in a way that's meaningful to your prospects and clients. And to do all this, we have to understand a game that prospects and buyers play. Now, they're not purposely playing it, but it's a game that they're playing because there's this psychological dance that buyers and sellers do, that I'm going to teach you how to do that dance way more effectively, which will turn into more sales. So while we're together here today, I got a couple rules, and they are, I'm going to ask you to participate. And in that participation, I'm going to ask you to just, grab a couple nuggets from what we're going to talk about today. Don't worry about learning the whole thing. It's a success if you just take one or two things from today, apply it to your business, apply it to your sets of tools that you have in your business, and make a meaningful impact. So with that, I'm going to ask you to come to here with a learning mindset, right? I may cross some things that so be open to learning maybe a new perspective on that same thing. And when I ask you to participate here along the way, putting things in chat, we're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. Mistakes are invited. We only learn from our mistakes. Like already we did something wrong. Like John and I didn't think you guys could see the chat, and I saw somebody put in there said, didn't see the poll, couldn't see the poll, and you guys could see the poll. So mistakes happen. And let's have some, let's have some fun. So let's dive in. So this buyer-seller dance is a bad setup. As you can see here with the people on the ladders, is they have good intentions. They're trying to do something that they want, but the way that this is set up is just bad. It's not the best way to do it, and you could possibly fail. You could possibly get hurt. And in sales, you're not going to get hurt, but that's what's happening with prospects. The setup is all wrong when it comes to what prospects ask you to offer them. Prospects ask you to buy the thing that you sell, but really what they're asking for is to offer them the help that they need. It's a bad setup from the beginning. For instance, people come into a hardware store and ask for a drill, but what they actually need is a hole. The thing that the hardware store sells is the drill. The help that someone needs is the hole. So in these situations, when buyers are asking for you about what you do, they're inadvertently tricking you because they aren't clear on what or how to ask you for what they actually want and what they are actually buying. So what do they really want? Prospects don't know that they're playing a game. They've been taught to act this way, and they're not sure how to be clear with you. They're constantly asking for things that are a few degrees off of what they really want. So when we come in expecting that to happen, we know how to play the game the proper way. It's kind of like if you have a family member that acts a certain way at every holiday, and you come in there expecting them to be different and then get upset that they keep acting that way, you're the one that's playing that game wrong. You should come in expecting them to act a certain way and not be disappointed. So prospects insist we play the communication game in a way that produces the wrong answer. Then they hold us accountable for it and for not playing it out the way they want it to. And you have to realize that this is happening so you don't get pulled in the wrong direction. It's not wrong. This is just what is. What you have to do is learn how to hear one thing, tell me about the thing that you sell, and then shift into understanding and speaking about the help that they need. So they ask you one thing, you have to answer it in another way. The more efficiently and effectively you transition into this way of operating, the more relevant you become to prospects. And this is how they start assessing you as client-centric. For instance, if you worked in a hardware store and someone asked you for a drill, instead of explaining the types of drills that you have, you start asking them what kind of hole and or project they're working on. This will then lead you to have more effective conversations and a more effective offer. Because you can say, hey, based on what you're explaining to me about your hole or project, this is the specific drill that will help you best. The other drills are for different projects and different holes. So let me know in the chat if I'm making sense and this resonates with you. And toward the end of the time together today, we're going to actually get into how to position yourself in a way that prospects hear the help that they need. So we're going to get into that. I just want to make sure we're tracking along. So what's the cheat code in this game? And that's ultimately playing the game with a customer-centric mindset. The cheat code is playing the game with an unfair advantage and getting around this specific game the buyers play. The cheat code is the mindset, making everything about the buyer and doing it from their perspective. The problem is most organizations think they're client-centric and they're not. This mindset is important to be able to show up in the marketplace more effectively. We've all been there, right? A situation where someone selling us something says, I'm all about you, but then they do something different. They make it all about themselves, the seller. And it's maddening. So organizations that not only learn how to present themselves as client-centric, but also give prospects a client-centric experience are the ones that are going to thrive in our rapidly changing world. What your clients and prospect want is, one, to see that you're client-centric, two, to hear that you're client-centric, and three, to experience that you're client-centric. Because it's important. This is very important because everybody's hearing about all this artificial intelligence, AI, and that is going to replace a lot of the talk and window dressing of organizations who say they are client-centric, but they're not. Those that match their words and actions are the organizations that will survive and thrive. All we're going to do and talk about today is how to communicate in a client-centric way. because that's all we got time for. But I wanted to make you aware of this because it's core to making everything work effectively. So here's an example, a live story. So my partner Jeff and I went up to a insurance brokerage, a pretty significant sized insurance brokerage in the North Shore of Chicago. And the president is the one that brought us in because he runs sales, and he was interested in talking to us that maybe there was something interesting that we could do and help them to in the sales department to give an edge to his team. And we were talking about this, client centricity thing, and he told us an amazing story because it bugs him as well too. So this insurance brokerage also manages 401ks, and they have a technology platform that manages them, all of them. And they were getting a new technology platform. So he called in a bunch of companies, and one of the companies came in, and the salesperson came in with her boss. And he said, when they sat down, having their meeting, he got right to it. And he said, hey, here are the things that I need help with. I need help with this, this, and this. He said, I just laid it out for them. I made it easy for them. He was telling them what to talk about. And what happened next was amazing. He said that the salesperson took her computer out, placed it towards him, and went on a 45-minute PowerPoint slide presentation about herself and the company. And what she said was, when he said, hey, I want you to talk about this, this, and this, she said, perfect, we'll get to that. And she went on this 45-minute presentation on how awesome they are. And he said the following: I stopped listening after 3 minutes. And he said the amazing thing was, when they shook hands and he said, thanks, this was great, they said it was great, he said that they most likely left thinking that the meeting was awesome, and he was never going to talk to them again. So I share this with you to drive home the fact that this, the way to talk, the way to think about things is from the client's perspective, and making everything that you do, about them. And give them an experience that makes it all about them. I bet you as a buyer want that every time you're buying too. So let's talk about how you start playing this game. And the first thing you have to do in playing this client-centric game is you have to understand two things. And what I want you to do is I want you to answer the following questions in the chat to learn. And I bet that most of you already know this, and we're just not applying it. So here's the question I want you to answer in the chat. What's the number one thing people like to talk about? Boom, Chris, perfect. Yes, everybody got it right. Themselves, 100%. Okay, here's the second question. What's the number one thing people like to think about when they aren't talking about themselves? It's not a trick question. Themselves. When we're not talking about themselves, we're thinking about ourselves. That's how we are wired to do that. We are wired to be self-centered, and that's okay, right? So we're not, when we're not talking about ourselves and we have our mouth shut, we're in our own brains, we're thinking about ourselves. We're a million thoughts about this and that, and it's all centered around ourselves. So if this is true, why do we make everything we explain to our prospects centered around us and not them? If we understand this phenomenon is happening, why do we do that? And the reason is because we're doing this about ourselves. The number one and number two questions are about ourselves. So once we understand this, combined with the fact that people are buying the help that they need and not the thing that we sell, we can start understanding how to talk about our businesses. And how you talk to people about your business is the difference between success and failure, or surviving and thriving. The thing we sell is about us. The help that they need is about them. What you sell is not relevant until prospects know you can provide the help that they need. So here's an example. Here's how to orient offers around the help that prospects need. I had that's another insurance broker. I had another insurance broker come to me, a one-man shop, and he was asking me about coaching. I think he got introduced to me or something. And when we met, I asked him, what is it that he wanted? And what he wanted was $1 million book of business. He had a book of business that was about 500,000, and he wanted help to get it to $1 million. And I asked him, why does that matter? And he said, the reason why it mattered is because he promised his wife that he would make sure he has enough money for her retirement, because she wasn't saving for herself earlier on in life. He has 3 kids that were going to go to college. One of them was about to, and the others were trailing. And he wanted to pay for their college, so they didn't have to pay for it. And he said, I don't know if you noticed here, I'm like kind of grabbing and rubbing my eye. I have an autoimmune disease that causes me to have migraines. And those migraines can shut me down for a couple hours. It can shut me down for a couple days, or it can shut me down for a couple weeks. And if he had $1 million book of business, if he was shut down for time, it's just something that spits out money to him on renewals, so he could insulate himself if he couldn't work. He also said that if he had $1 million book of business, that triggers a much higher selling price. So someone will pay more for $1 million book of business than they would for 2 separate $500,000 book of business. It's just a multiplier. So when he asked me, Bryan, what can you do? How can you help me? When I made him an offer, I told him, I said, Greg, it's $3,000 a month for me to help you grow your book from 500 to $1 million. Make sure you take care of your wife's retirement. Make sure that you pay for your kids' college, and make sure that you have an asset that pays you in case you get sick. And the next line out of his mouth was, where do I sign up? He wasn't buying coaching from me. I wasn't selling him training. I wasn't selling him videos. I was selling him the help that he needed to achieve those things. So again, another story to help you understand how to drive client centricity and drive your relevance in the world of your prospects. So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start creating some positioning statements that are client-centric, and I'm going to ask you to participate. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to give you things to apply today, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to cover 2 parts on how to build this, and then how to combine them for a client-centric positioning statement that will help you generate prospects more efficiently and effectively. Now, this is a general formula, and you're going to have to do some wordsmithing if you participate. But we're going to get you talking in a client-centric way. So here's the first part. I want you to start thinking about what you do from your client's perspective. For you to do this effectively, you have to take what you do and set it aside. Then you get into the mindset of the client and think about the help that they need by starting to write down I statements that they make and the things that your prospects and buyers would say. Because doing this way, it helps you stay in their world and out of your world. The closer you are to getting into the minds and experiences of them, the easier it is for you to communicate in a client-centric way. And here are some examples about my clients. I'll give you some examples, some I statements that my clients and prospects make. What they say is, I'm not sure why I send so many proposals, but not enough of them turn into business. I wish I had smarter buyers because my prospects can't see the value I provide. I realize I need sales, but I loathe doing sales. And I don't ever want to be labeled a salesperson who's pushy, self-centered, annoying, or salesy. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take time and write down I statements that your prospects, buyers, and clients make. And if you want, you can share them in the chat and we can share some thoughts. You're not required to, but you can. And Dan, oh, hold on. Any good or bad company examples? Okay, well, people writing those, I'll give a bad example. What's a bad example? Like a bad example is I had a client who was an outsourced CFO, and he said, you know, I do fractional CFO services for construction companies, and I do bookkeeping, financial projections, balance sheets, and cash flow statements. That was all about everything that he did. But the help that his prospects needed is they didn't know how to structure, they didn't know how to make financial decisions based on their finances, and they didn't know how to grow profitability. So when he started using that language, he put on in 2 months $100,000, $100,000 and of down payments and $20,000 a monthly recurring revenue. Oh, no, Sri, actually, I'll go back here. So what I want you to think about are I statements that your prospects make about themselves to get into their mind. What's your, Sri, what's your business? Maybe I can share something live here. Okay, so are your clients granite distribution business? Are your clients the contractor, or are your clients the granite fabricators? Okay, so what problems exist for your granite fabricators? Like what in their world? I'm going to try to. Like I wish I could have a supplier that was more dependable or reliable. Yeah. There you go. That's it. I wish I could get better pricing. I wish I had a partner and not a service provider. Things like that. That's what you want to think about and do, right? Get into their world, right? Get into their world and I statements that focus on and possibly affect or are attached to what you do. I'll read through. Oh, Gary, that's great. I'm concerned that profits are being left on the table. That's great. CC, I'm exhausted and burned out. I'm looking for ways to calm down, sleep better tonight. Yep. these are great. You guys are definitely getting this. Perfect. Okay. So let's move. Here's the second part. Next, I want you to think about what you do, and then think about the help that gives prospects. The prospects buy the help that they need, not the thing that you sell. So we're going to get some language around that. And I want you to write down answers to the following questions for yourself. These are what I call the voice of the customer. So how does what you do make their life easier? How does it take care of any worry or concern? How does it improve any situation that they're in? How does it make them feel? Or how does it give them what they're looking for? So again, it's the result or the outcome, not the thing that you sell. And I'll give you a minute or two for that. Because then we're going to combine it here, and I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So now that you have that, what I want you to do is combine the I statements that match up well with the answers to the help that they need. This is where you're going to have to do some wordsmithing. And here is an example. And Sri, I'll get to your question in a second here. So here's an example of how I combine this. So the I statement that my clients say is they loathe sales. What my offering, the outcome it produces is it helps them build the business of their dreams when they take the thing that I sell. So some positioning statements about what I do is I serve entrepreneurs who loathe sales, learn how to enjoy the process of doing sales so they feel more comfortable and can actually build the business of their dreams. So I never talk about the coaching. I never talk about videos or training. This statement is centered around the help that they need, not the thing that I sell. So if anybody wants, you can try to combine some. You can put some examples in there. And while you guys are thinking of that, I'm going to take on a question here from Sri. Sri, do you ask them, are you happy? What problems are you facing? Absolutely. One strategy, Sri, is you could go to all your prospects and interview them. You can ask them 3 questions. One, and this is extra. One, what's the thing you love about your current provider? 2, what's the one thing you wish your current provider would do that you haven't asked them? Or 3, what's the one thing my industry isn't offering you that you wish they would offer them? And Sri, if you ask 20 people, 20 prospects that, you're going to see a pattern on how to position or how to make them an offer that will possibly make an offer, right? I think you made a comment over here around they're asking for more time to pay and you can't do that. I totally get that. But you may find different patterns on things to offer them. So, okay, if anybody wants to put the position statement in the chat, please do. If not, we're going to move on. You can definitely get feedback, and we're going to open up for questions here in a second. All right, perfect. So we talked about a game that prospects and buyers play, which is they want you to talk about the help that they need, but they ask you to explain the thing that you sell. The best perspective is to apply a mindset and strategy of client centricity to everything that you do. So you're congruent in how you communicate and interact with prospects. You have to talk the talk and walk the walk. So what we've done is today, while we were together in this short time, is we've developed some skills to improve your overall sales success by being more relevant to your ideal prospects. We've talked about how to learn a mindset and strategy to get into the world and mind of your prospects and clients. And you learn how to communicate in a way that is meaningful to your prospects. And you're literally understanding that one of the games that prospects and buyers play, the games are played, and all you have to do is understand really what they want and or how to play the game in a more effective way. That's why I gave you the cheat code. That's why I gave you how to think about it and how to start. Because when you use and apply the strategy of client centricity in everything that you do, it becomes an unfair advantage. It's how the outsourced COO or fractional COO in the beginning went from no clients to $47,000 of monthly recurring revenue in 90 days. We've had clients make huge pivots when they position their product, service, or offering in a way that is most meaningful to prospects and buyers, and they get a throughput of sales. They create differentiation in the way that they talk, in the way that they interact, and therefore they stick out to their clients and their prospects and clients. And this is also a way when you apply these to your customer service, client centricity there, you get clients for life. They don't want to go. They don't want to go anywhere because they feel that you are not just a service provider. They feel that you are a part of their business. If it's B2B, if it's B2C, they feel that you're just part of their life. And that's what we want to do, is we want to have an army of loyal clients that continue to come back and do business with us, because that's what gives you the financial success in your business. So I'll open up here to questions.
Thanks, Bryan.
Yep.
This has been some interesting conversation here about this. I've heard a lot of these ideas, but you've put them in an interesting sort of perspective here. So one of the questions here is, for a startup company, when should we start to really plan the sales team?
Well, in my experience, and this is a great question, in my experience as a startup, you have to, as the owner and typically the sales leader, you have to build the foundation. The way you build your sales team is you build the foundation where you can document the process, you document how you sell it, you document how you position it. So when you bring on the sales team, you can hand that off. The thing that we run into, my partners and I call it the founder fed syndrome, is that you bring somebody in, you have them spend a couple of days with you saying, hey, here's how you do it. And then you say, okay, you go do it yourself. You have to build that foundation before you build that sales team. That for us has been a key element to success. So hopefully I answered that question right.
Okay. Um, uh, the other thing, that it seems like there's a couple of questions here about that my customers know what they want. How do I give them in effect what they need? And I know you talked a little bit about that, but very often, and I think, it's similar to what you were talking about with hardware store. I want a drill. Well, why do you want the drill? So if your customer comes to you and says, I need a CRM, or I need better salespeople, it's like, well, why? What's the challenge there? What's the
So,
thing that's not happening, right?
yeah, so the easiest way to explain this is there's always a backstory.
Mhm.
Get the backstory, right? I think that's the easiest way, succinct way to explain this. Because the backstory, let's talk about the hardware store, right? Oh, you want to drill? Okay, why do you want to drill? And they launch you to a backstory. Well, I'm building this, this, and this, right? So if you want a CRM, so help me understand why are you buying a CRM, right? I have a belief that, and I test it all the time, and clients do it too, is prospects will tell you exactly what to offer them and how to offer it to them, as long as you're asking questions and listening. Right. So you have to get into listening mode. When they ask you for something, get into, well, let me rephrase this. When they ask you for something, get into questioning mode, which gets you into listening mode, and start asking questions about why they want that, instead of, explaining, why your product is awesome and convincing them. You have to get into the backstory. The backstory is where you'll find the help that they need.
Right, and the way I've been, it's been explained to me a lot, is that they're looking for a solution to their problem. They're
Yep.
not looking for a product, or they're looking for a product that they think is going to be a solution to their problem, but
Yeah.
it may or may not be. So that's, again, the backstory, I think, is very important in terms of, what is the problem you're trying to solve? That's the key question for almost any business is, what problem are you trying to solve here?
Totally. And one way that that when somebody comes to me, another way to get the backstory or reposition this is I say, like, if somebody says, I need to generate more leads, right? That they say, what do you need? Oh, I need to generate more leads. I say to them, if that's the solution, what's the problem? Right? Because it'll automatically go there, because we're not, the undertone of this is we're not taught how to communicate well at all. Right? So if I need more leads, I'm like, that's a problem I'm experiencing, but it's not the actual core issue. It's a symptom of the actual problem. So that's why I say, like, okay, if that's the solution, then what's the problem? And people know how to answer that question, even though they're presenting the problem as, I need leads.
Yeah. Now, here's another question. I sell a commodity office. I sell a commodity, office supplies. As a prospect, can you offer an example of how to be client-centric in my opening statement?
Okay, so I'll think about this out loud, right? So, what is it that somebody getting it's office equipment or office supplies? Okay,
Office supplies.
Office supplies. So, they're buying the office supplies so they can get their job done. Right? Like that's really, hey, I need pens so I can fill out proposals, or I need such and such, right? You start presenting those things is, I help business owners make sure that they can get the day-to-day things that their team needs to get done in an efficient manner. Right? I mean, just making it up on the fly, right? Because that's really, like, the office supplies are the reason for that. And if they're asking you about a specific one, like printers, it's like, oh, I help printers are kind of going out of style, but I help people create the information that they want so they can get it to their team and their clients, something like that, right? Like office supplies is tough. My longer answer is for office supplies, because the more the commoditized, my perspective in sales, the more the commoditized the industry, the greater the opportunity.
Well, what's more of a commodity than a dead chicken, right? And here you have Purdue, who sells specialized chickens, right? So
Yep.
That's the epitome of a commodity. But I guess my thought on this is, don't necessarily be thinking about your opening statement. Think about your opening question.
Boom. I like that a lot. I like that a lot, right? So why is it that you need supplies, right? Like, what's going on with your current supplier that you would even entertain a conversation with me, right?
Right.
One of the most effective things for me in sales was leveraging the mood of curiosity. And it drives me to ask questions, not jump to presenting. And that allows me to listen and ask questions that pull out from prospects the information that I need and I'm looking for. I help them tell me.
And there's a couple of recurring things in here about saving costs. So from my experience, saving costs is a wonderful thing, but it may not be the important issue. That assuming that you can do it cheaper than somebody else puts you in a position of being a commodity in a sense. But the idea is, what is the problem? Back to what is the problem you're trying to solve? And so assuming that it's saving costs, all of a sudden, you're now wanting to position yourself as a low-cost provider, as opposed to positioning yourself as someone who solves their problem.
Correct.
But you can't do that unless you know what their problem is.
So I have time for a quick story, maybe 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, so the 3 questions I gave Sri earlier, I helped a client use those to figure out what the problem in the marketplace was. So safes, they sold safes, right? Commodity, not a fancy thing. It was the owner and 2 salespeople. They came to me and they said, Bryan, I have a price problem. I need to be the low-cost provider, just what you were saying, John. I said, I don't know if that's true. I said, do an exercise with me. I want you to go. They were about to go to a trade show, and they're from Texas. And then when they were done on that trade show, they were coming back to Texas and going to some clients. I said, when you go to this trade show, don't try to sell anybody anything. I want you to ask them 3 questions. The 3 questions I gave Sri. What's the number one thing you like about your current provider? What's the one thing you wish your current provider would do that you're not asking and you wish they would do? And number 3, what's the number one thing you wish that this industry would offer you and they're not? So they asked those 3 questions of their clients too. So they switched them. They said, what do you like about me? What do you wish I do that I didn't? And they spreadsheeted this information out. And from talking to them, I was like, hey, these couple things sound like the same thing. They go, yeah, the number one thing our prospects are worried about is that they're getting things on time, shipments. And he said, what they're saying here, I know that those providers don't have the product. They're waiting for it to come in and then they're shipping it out, right?
Yeah.
The same problem showed up with with their clients, right? Hey, I wish you could get things faster. So he didn't have a price problem. He had an inventory issue.
Yeah.
Right. So what we did was, he was about a $2 million business. What I helped him do was eliminate options, make the options that he sold less, and he raised prices. And he basically said, and he would give something on consignment too. And basically what he said was, if you order these products from me, yes, you're going to pay a higher price, but if I don't get it to you in a certain amount of time, he gave a huge discount. And here's what happened. Revenue went up $200,000 in the very first month, because he didn't have a price problem. He had an inventory problem. He solved a problem in the marketplace a core issue that nobody else is trying to solve because they're
Yeah.
playing a different game.
Right. I mean, and if, if you're buying from a distributor, you're not buying that for yourself, you're buying that for your customers. If you don't have it, you can't sell it and you can't make
Correct.
revenue. So no
Correct.
matter what it costs, you're, right. I mean, and sometimes cost is an issue, but it shouldn't be assumed. You should ask those questions. Those
Correct.
three questions I think are key, Brian, to
All are key. And for anybody watching this or live or on record, here's the thing. If you ask those questions, you have to do. You have to make it an interview process. If you hear something that oh, I can sell this person because I can sell a problem. If you do that, the people you're talking to will shut down and they will start lying to you. They'll start holding back the truth. This has to be an interview. And you have to honor that. You have to stay in integrity with that, because if you fall out of integrity and you start trying to sell them something, like I said, they pull back or they don't divulge all the information, right? That's the biggest key to this.
Well, people like to buy things. They don't like to be sold.
Correct. 100%.
So just list those three questions again, Brian. I think that's worth.
So what's the number one thing you like about your current provider? What's something that you wish your current provider would do, but you've not asked them? Or wish they would do. Kind of, they're almost the same thing. And then the third question is, what's the one thing you wish my industry would offer you, but they haven't offered you yet? Now, you're going to get some ridiculous answers that you're not going to be able to provide, right? Like, I think Sri was mentioning this in the chat, like, give me, 120 days payable, right?
Yeah,
like, that's not going to work, right? Maybe we can do an iteration of that. But what you do is you ask enough people to find patterns, and then you go test that, right? Like, hey, if I had this, like the safe, what we did was he went out and he said, he tested it, said, hey, if I have these 5 products and I can guarantee you that you can get them, but I would charge this, would you do it? And would you buy it? And they all said yes, right? Okay, perfect. Let's go do it. Right.
And the interesting thing to me is that third question, you're asking about the industry.
Correct.
You're not saying, what do you wish I would do? You're just saying, okay, the industry, what is out there? So this is recognizing that there are industry-wide problems.
Correct.
And guess what? If you can solve those, then those customers are going to recommend you to some other customers, because it's a common problem and they talk about those. So I think I think those 3 questions are very, very creative way to get the conversation. As you said, you need to do a conversation. It shouldn't be an interview. It shouldn't be a sales pitch. It's a conversation. What's your problems? And here, let me give you a solution. So,
and these questions are all derived from what's called the theory of constraints. It's a philosophy like Lean Six Sigma. When you kind of get into the process and you pull yourself out and you start being objective, you start learning some interesting information, and you can get ahead of the market of your competition and get a bunch of sales before they even know what happened.
Well, and the other thing that you get from Lean is the 5 whys, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Why 5 times to get to the actual answer, because they're not going to give you the right answer, or they're not going to give you the real answer the first time. So
100%.
So Brian, you and I could probably talk forever, but
yeah, no problem.
we would like to wrap this up. So could you, I'd like to remind people, well, first of all, thanks, Brian. This has been
thank you. This was great.
Presentation here. But we have some other webinars coming up on July 26th. We actually have 2. One is at noon, and it's selling on Amazon, and that is presented by Amazon. And then in the evening, we have 6 essential productivity strategies for small businesses. And then on September 14th, we have a webinar called "Is a Franchise Right for Me?" Because a lot of people are looking at franchises and thinking about that. So as we end up here, if you want a SCORE mentor, please go to score.org/North Chicago, and you can request a mentor. If you want to talk with Bryan McDonald, Bryan, I put your email address in the chat a while back, but if you put it in again, Bryan would be very happy to answer your questions.
Actually, here's I'll put it on the screen there for a second. And that's our website too. So you can go to our website, you can ask for me, or you can email me directly. Happy to answer any questions or meet with anybody that's interested.
So OnPurpose Growth, all one word.com.
Yeah, all one word.
All right, Bryan, thanks a lot. It's been great. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to SCORE North Chicago, or North Cook and Lake counties. And we will see everyone at our next webinar. Thanks
Awesome.
a lot.
Thanks, Sean. Take care, guys.